Audio Jungle.
Ayoung woman ran over and killed a pensioner in a hit-and-run crash while on a hands-free phone conversation at the wheel, a court heard today. Anna Edwards, 25, who was speaking lawfully through a car headset, allegedly drove over 77-year-old Brian Croxon when he tripped and fell on a cobbled road after drinking 3 whiskies at a club. Edwards failed to stop at the scene, having failed to spot Mr. Croxon, but the court heard she returned shortly afterwards, driving slowly past his body before leaving the area again. Mr. Croxon was fatally struck outside the Royton Brass Band club in Oldham, Greater Manchester, where he was a former president of 20 years. Minshull Street Crown Court in Manchester was told the tragedy occurred at 11 p.m. on December 8 last year, while Edwards was out in her Ford Fiesta car at night, despite having a faulty headlight. Kevin Donnelly, prosecuting, said one of her dipped headlights was not working on the day of the incident, and there's evidence to suggest that it had not been working for about 3 weeks. There is also evidence to show that at the time of the collision, she was in a conversation with somebody, although she was using a car headset, which is not unlawful. Mr. Croxon, who visited the Brass Band Club 6 nights a week, had arrived at around 9:10 p.m. and left 2 hours later. He was seen to stumble on cobbles at a road junction before falling into the path of a Citroen Piccasso driven by witness Kelly Winstanley. Mr. Donnelly added, Mr. Croxon had 3 single whiskies and lemonades, but did not seem to be drunk, according to a member of staff. Miss Winstanley describes him as standing on a cobbled surface of road, and as she approached, something caused him to stumble into the road directly in front of her. Miss Winstanley's instant reaction was to swerve to the right to avoid hitting him, then swerved back into her own lane, and she looked in her mirror and saw him motionless. The defendant was also driving in the same direction as Miss Winstanley, but she drove over Mr. Croxon as he lay in the road. Although something caused him to fall in the road, he was alive, and what killed him was the impact of the defendant's Ford Fiesta. Speaking to the jury, he added, the prosecution's case is that Anna Edwards did not swerve to avoid hitting Brian Croxon and did not brake to come to a halt. You, the jury, have to decide whether she could have swerved out of the way of Mr. Croxon or avoid impact by bringing her car to a halt. CCTV footage examined by police showed Edwards was traveling below the 30 miles per hour speed limit at between 24 miles per hour and 28 miles per hour and was traveling 100 yards behind Miss Winstanley's Citroen. The prosecutor added, the stopping time is somewhere in the region of 11 seconds and Mr. Croxon would have been visible to the defendant for about 10 seconds for a distance of about 100 meters. After the Citroen Picasso went past Mr. Croxon, Ms. Edwards had an uninterrupted view of Mr. Croxon. She did not immediately stop. She drove on to the next junction in the road and she turned around and came back to the scene of the collision, but by the time she got back, a number of people were surrounding Brian Croxon. She did not stop, she drove past the scene slowly, and then she drove on. If Anna Edwards had acted immediately to what she saw in the road, she would have brought her car to a halt in something like 4.5 seconds, and that would have carried a distance of about 30 meters. Edwards was arrested later. She gave a no-comment interview to police, but gave a statement saying she saw a dark object in the road and was unable to move around it. The court heard she didn't think the object was a man and only appreciated what happened when she returned to the scene.